Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from Great Spanish Wines, and I'm going to talk to you about wine scores. We're going to talk about the traditional method of wine scores, the 100-point system and what it actually means. I'm pretty sure you've been to a store or supermarket and seen next to a wine that such and such a person gives it 92 points, 94, 89 points. What does that actually mean? And then we're going to talk about why I particularly don't use the 100-point score when I'm rating wines or recommending wines, and what my philosophy is around the 100-point score and why I don't use it. So check it out. So many of you have probably seen stickers on or next to the bottle or something highlighting a score that a certain person has given a wine in a wine store. Over 90% of the time, that score is going to be out of 100 points. So traditionally speaking, the 100-point system has been used since the early 1970s, when Robert Parker, who is probably the most influential wine critic of the 20th century, invented a new system to score and rate wines that gave him a lot more flexibility when scoring wines. Before that, the popular system was a 20-point system. And Robert Parker felt that he needed more numbers, I guess, in order to differentiate wines that were very close to one another, that he really liked, but maybe he preferred one a little bit over the other. And he felt that the 20-point system didn't give him that leeway or that space to rate wines the way he would like. To put an example, maybe he would try two wines. One was slightly better than the other, but within the 20-point system, he would give them both a score of 17 or 18. And in the 100-point system, maybe one would get a 94 and the other would get a 93. You know, they're very close to one another, but he wanted to be able to show that difference. And so the 100-point system came in. Now, how does the 100-point system work? Well, for starters, most any wine critic in the world, when rating a wine, they're looking for the same things. So when they're going to taste a wine or judge a wine, they're going to look at the color. So they're going to take their glass, they're going to hold it up or down against a white surface, and they're going to take a look at the color of the wine. Sometimes they're doing this blind, sometimes they're not. In both cases, the color is already giving them some information about maybe where the wine is from, maybe what grapes are used, if it's from a warmer or a hotter climate. You know, they're already looking for those things when looking at the color. Also, just to look for technical faults. Is it cloudy? Is there sediment? Or how well was this wine filtered? So first is the color. This next thing they're going to do is smell it and judge the aromas, how aromatic it is, and then try to identify certain aromas from the wine. So that is already telling them something about the wine, the quality of the wine, how it was made, and maybe where it's from. So give it a bit of a swirl, put their nose in, and think about what the wine smells like. The next thing is they're going to taste the wine, and they're going to taste the wine for two different reasons. First, they're going to taste the wine for the technical aspects of the wine, meaning they're going to see the levels of acidity, the tannin levels, if it's lighter, medium, or fuller bodied, if the wine is persistent, and they're going to taste it also for flavor. And so once they've taken all those steps, they'll give it a score. And so in the case of Robert Parker, when talking about the 100-point scale, it's kind of a tricky scale to gauge in general, because Robert Parker, the minimum score he'll give a wine is 50. So 50 is actually 0 in Robert Parker. Nothing will ever be below a 50, and the worst wines he's ever tried will get a 50. So his scores range from 50 to 100. The issue with the 100-point scale in general is now many critics have adopted the same system, and they each use the 100 points in a slightly different way. There are wine critics where the minimum score that they give is 85. 85 by Robert Parker is a decent score. It's not the greatest wine you've ever tried, but it's a pretty good wine. But someone else using the same scale is giving it 85 as the lowest score possible that a wine can receive. So already you have to know who is giving the score and how they use the scoring system in order to be able to judge if it's a high, medium, or low score. Most of the time in most systems, anything that's 90 or above is considered a really good wine. Then the closer you get to 100, the better and even historic the wine is going to be judged as, because there are very few wines per year that receive 100-point scores. So anything close to that is a truly, truly special wine in the eyes of the person who gave it the score. However, seeing that there's so much variety within the 100-point system, it's already hard to judge. And many critics, when they're judging a wine or when you see it, all you see is a score, which tells you that someone liked the wine, but it really doesn't tell you anything about that wine. Meaning, you go to a store and you see Robert Parker says, this wine has 95 points. Okay, Robert Parker clearly really loved this wine. But what does the wine taste like? What is it about the wine that he really liked? Now, if you want those details, generally most critics put those details and those notes behind a paywall. You need to pay in order to see really the specifics of what the person thought about the wine, what it tastes like, what it smells like. And generally, even then, that's pretty much all the information you get. And so the problem with tastes and smells is that even bad wines have tastes and smells. I've seen people smell a wine and say, this smells like peaches, maybe some apricots, some tropical fruits like pineapple, mango. You think, oh, I like those fruits. That sounds good. Then they taste it. They don't like it. It had that smell. Didn't necessarily mean it was a good wine. So that's also a way that people can get tricked when only being told an aroma or a flavor profile about a wine. So why don't I use the 100-point system? Precisely because I think it's kind of an easy way to not have to give too much detail, to not really stick your neck out and talk about a wine in a more personal way, in a more specific way. You just give it a score. So what we do, or what I do at Great Spanish Wines, is really try to give you the full context of the wine, why I think it's good, and for what occasion I think it's appropriate for. So I like to give a lot more details about the wine. I like to tell people what kind of setting I think the wine is appropriate for. If it's for a date night, if it's for a celebration, if you're just laying on the couch having pizza with your significant other, with a bunch of friends, if you're just hanging out, is it for the summer, is it for the winter? I also like to give some context as to the kind of person who's going to drink it, whether they might like it in the sense of, so I'll say, do you like your coffee strong and black? Do you like your coffee light and with a lot of milk? Are you a whiskey drinker? Are you a bourbon drinker? Are you more of a gin and tonic drinker? Do you like fruity cocktails? Do you go more for a beer? The kind of food that you like, spicy, not spicy, with a lot of aromas and flavors. And so I like to recommend the wine in all those aspects. I'll give it my overall impressions. I will then recommend a setting for the wine. Sometimes there can be several settings for the wine, but to give you some context as to this is appropriate for a celebration. And then, if you are the type of person who likes these kinds of drinks, I think you will also enjoy this wine. And then give it kind of a creative descriptor, kind of the feelings, emotions, or something that just came to me when drinking the wine. Some thoughts and feelings that it evoked, and it's kind of a more creative thing about how I like to describe the wine. Or say I'm describing it to someone who's never had wine before. How could I find a creative way to give them a sense of what the wine made me feel and what it made me think about? And so those are all the things that I take into account when I'm trying wine and scoring wines. And you'll find our page with recommended. So you'll find our page with recommended wines on the web page for Great Spanish Wines. And you can check out all the wines that we have there available, and hope you enjoy it. Fucking mirror. How obvious is it?